About to start doing.
Yeah, I know, I'm not thumbnail.
Hey everybody, this is Lorelia. I'm coming to you with a video today. Want to talk about the do's and don'ts of the PPP program. And why do I want to discuss the do's and don'ts? Is because a lot of people don't know what they don't know. And one may say, well, Lorelia, what do you mean by that? You don't know what you don't know. So, I'm always amazed by some of the questions that I get regarding the second wave of funding that was rolled out by the Treasury. The last couple of videos, I've been talking about the economic stimulus for business owners, the PPP program, the EIL, and so now we're at the second wave. The bill was signed on Friday, and so I did a video talking about why now is the best time to position yourself to make sure you do not lose out on the money. I clearly talked about how freelancers, the gig economy folks, those who don't have employees, how they can get their fair share. Because one of the misconceptions during the last wave of funding is that you had a lot of people putting a lot of misinformation out there on the internet. And one of those were you had to have employees. And I did a video talking about and outlining in the Treasury, the Treasury document, what it said and how you as a gig economy person or freelancer or independent contractor or sole proprietor, whatever title you give yourself, how you can get your share. And so if you look at that, it's a few videos ago, I forget the title of it, I outlined how you can get your share, what you're gonna need. And so that is why I decided to do the video today about the do's and don'ts. Kind of want to like point out some of the things that, you as a person should really practice good, I guess, good, good judgment on what you plan to do. So some of the do's and don'ts. Okay, I'm going to talk about the don'ts, really. Not going to, I may touch on the do's, but I really want to touch on the don'ts because this is what I primarily come across. Now, give me a second. I'm going to actually go to the treasury.gov because we're going to go to the source. We're not even going to take my word for it. We're going to go to what it said. And so let me pull it up. So I have it pulled up. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so I have the document up. So if you see my screen, I basically have the treasury.gov website up. I'm going to hope that you see my screen. If you see me, okay. I'm looking down. It's because I'm making sure there's a delay that as I look down at my other device, it shows me that my screen is being shown. So I'm on the treasury.gov website. This is what I've told people. If you have a lot of questions, you want the go-to, here is the go-to. Do not believe that the information is somewhat under a rock and you cannot find it. So if you go down here under tools, it gives you the latest information. So let's look at, and of course, you know, you're more than welcome to go down here, FAQs from April 26th and the SBA Paycheck Protection Program Loan Report 416. So I'm going to look at the FAQs, and that may help to show some type of support behind what it is that I want to talk about today, and how it can help you. Now, one of the most should I say, most popular questions that I get is, Lorelia, what if I started a business in January 2020? Am I allowed to apply for the program? Now, clearly on the document, which is the application form, it says that you're supposed to look at 12 months of business activity. So, let's look at question number 3. Does my business have to qualify as a small business concern? Then it goes to under Section 3 of the Small Business Act, USC 632, in order to participate in the PPP. The answer is no. What does that mean if a person needs to, if they don't have clarity? The best thing for you to do, Google Small Business Act, section code 15 under the USC 632. It says the answer is no. In addition to, okay, thank you, Alicia Douglas. You said you could see the screen, great. In addition to the small business concern, a business is eligible for the PPP loan if the business had 500 or fewer employees whose principal place of residence is in the United States. The business meets the SBA employee base size standards, industry in which it operates, if applicable. Similarly, PPP loans are also available for qualified tax-exempt nonprofit organizations described in 501c3 of the 501c19 of IRC and tribal business concerns, yada, 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 yada. And at the end, it says, meet the SBA employee base size standards for the industry in which they operate. Now, let me tell you, this is not a popular thing to discuss. Why? Because it takes work. Nobody wants to go through the hassle of reading this information. But the reason why you want to is because you want to get your share. So many times I've heard in these Facebook groups that I'm in that people feel like they got left out. And I really don't think it's a case of people got left out. I really don't think people, thank you, Alicia, I'm glad you appreciate it, didn't know where to go and get the questions answered. Because as you can see, the question is, does my business have to qualify as a small business concern under section code Small Business Act 15 USC? Now, another question. Are lenders required to make an independent determination regarding applicability of affiliation rules under 13 CRF? No. It is the responsibility of the borrower to determine which entities, if any, or its affiliates, and determine the employee head count for a borrower and its affiliates. Lenders are permitted to rely on the borrower's certifications. This is what I want to talk about. Now, the do's and don'ts, I'm going to go into it because I said I'm going to let this document pretty much spearhead what I want to talk about today. Now, In my prior videos, I talked about that you can get funding based on the payroll that you've paid for the month. Remember the calculation? You take the payroll that you as a business owner has paid for the month, times it by the calculation, 2.5%, what have you. No, take the payroll, divide it by 12, then times it by 2.5%, and that will give you an idea of how much money that you were going to get as a loan. If that was for people with employees. Now, people who are sole proprietors, freelancers, gig economy folks, is to take the Schedule C, must have a profit, whatever that profit is, divided by 12, 2.5%, the list goes on and on, a calculation. That question right there about are lenders required to make an independent determination regarding the applicability? It has to do with, are lenders gonna, have the say so to determine what you give them is pretty much, truth. And I know this is a very fine line because it is my interpretation of what this document means. Because one may say, well, no, that's not what it really means. The reason why I feel like that is my determination, because it goes back to the do's and don'ts. One of the biggest don'ts that I really want to hit home with this video is do not get caught up in fraud. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. Do not get caught up in fraud. What is fraud? That means doing something illegal. In this lending space, and especially now with the with social media, everyone can pretty much share their expertise or what have you. I'm not here to say what's right or what's wrong, but I'm going to give you my opinion of what I've seen, just being in the space of credit, lending, and social media. One of the biggest things is fraud, especially when it comes to credit. I did videos on it about credit sweeps. I'm not in that sandbox, don't play in that sandbox, have no interest in it. Does it exist? Yes. Are consumers enticed by it? Yes. But understand that's just a Band-Aid, because now we are going into times with AI or what have you. And even if you want if you're trying to get access to some real funding, full disclosure is going to be, is part of it. And so if you are applying for these loans and you are being enticed to commit fraud, that's why I say I really want to concentrate on the don'ts. The do's of this video is, do make sure that your financials are your financials. What do I mean by that? With the Schedule C, it says your 2019 Schedule C. I recently had a conversation with someone and they said, well, my tax return is not due until July. How am I going to know what my Schedule C is going to be to be able to get the funding? I did a video on this. No, my friend. Shame on you. There is no reason, if you're calling yourself a boss, calling yourself a business owner, and you do not know what your numbers are, there is no reason why you as a business owner should not be able to go to whatever accounting software you use, Intuit, which is the maker of QuickBooks or what have you. That's the most widely popular one, FreshBooks or whatever, or even Excel spreadsheet. You should have some document that will show, okay, this is the revenue that I made for January. This is the revenue I made for February. This is the revenue I made for March. And this is the revenue I made for April. And then we go on to projection. What am I going to project for the remaining part of this year? Now let's go backwards for 2019. In 2019, that document, you should have it, because many tax professionals, depending on the relationship that you have with your tax professional, you're going to have to give that, you're going to have to give them that document. Now one may say, well, my accountant does it for me. And I'm not here to say that, that's right or wrong, but what kind of business are you running if you're going to clearly wait until the end of the year to know what your numbers are? Why do I say all that? Because it goes back to the do's and don'ts. The do is make sure your numbers are really your numbers, that those are really your numbers, that Schedule C that you have are your numbers. Now let's take the 941. The 941 is a document that it's like the payroll report that you give the IRS to say how much payroll you've paid in terms of gross wages, FICA, federal withholdings, and at the end of the year you have FUTA. So that's usually on the schedule on the fourth quarter 941. And it's a separate form. Make sure those numbers are those numbers, because it goes back to the fraud. I've seen some really creative stuff, especially when it comes to business lending. People want business loans and they will give you falsified tax returns. So do not feel like that just because that is a tax return or a tax form that it is real. Why do I say that? It goes back to, our lenders are required to make an independent determination regarding applicability. It is not the lender. If I work as a consultant, I work with lenders, matching individuals up to get lending, especially for the PPP program. As much as I promote honesty, no fraud, I am not going to do an audit of somebody's Schedule C. If the person says this is their Schedule C and this is the profit they made, because don't get me wrong, people can get creative. I've seen some creative stuff. People can get creative with their P&L. People could get creative with a Schedule C, and people could get creative with their 941s. And this is what the thing is that people will have you to believe, ain't nobody gonna know. The lender don't ask. The lender ain't gonna check. That's what you'll get enticed with doing. That they will tell you that the lender won't check. No, you see right here, it's in the document. The lender does not have to. Are lenders required to make an independent determination? No, it is not me as a consultant's job to audit your stuff. I'm not going to audit your Schedule C. I'm not going to say, oh, these are your numbers, well, show me some receipts. That's not my job. But understand, now is not the time and place to commit fraud. Do not get lured by people enticing you and telling you this is what you can do to get the money. Because all these systems are linked up. If you think you're going to add a falsified number on an EDL application to get the funding that may be available for that, if they are funding it, if you think you're going to put a falsified number in the PPP program and think ain't nobody going to know, I'm going to tell you right now, all these systems are linked up. You don't think when they ask you for 12 months of activity, they not going to look at what you're going to report on that tax return when you do report it? You don't think so? You really think you're that masterful, I can't even say the word, but you're really that creative that you're going to put one number on the application to get your funding, and then you're going to put totally different numbers on the tax form. I can't stress this enough. This ain't the time and place. So the do of this whole video, make sure your stuff is real. The don't is, don't get caught up, don't get enticed. People will have you believing that there are some loopholes that you could take part of and ain't nobody gonna find out. Don't believe the hype, man. Because the same people who gonna tell you that, it's gonna be like, poof, they gone. And then you, on the other hand, are gonna be on the hook for what it is you put down there. Because trust and believe, when you submit those documents online with the EDIL, now the PPP is different because you have to go to a certified lender. But just know that there is something that you're going to sign that say that everything that you've applied is true. Because the lender is not the lender's job. Here's a document right here. It's not the lender's job to do an audit of your numbers. That's not their job. So, I know this is not going to be a very popular video, but I'm just giving people an idea because people come to me with some crazy questions. I don't know if people try to trip me up or they just thinking, And my thing is this, nah, man, you ain't gonna put me on the hook. No, no. I'm a former accountant. I know how all this works. I know how these numbers match up. And so you're gonna have someone who's gonna tell you, oh, just say your P&L numbers are this, so you could be able to get this. And then when you file your tax return, your numbers are this. What you said your numbers was this to be able to get the loan. Don't get caught up like that. Don't get caught out like that. That's why I tell people, because help is here. Help is here. I do a monthly class that I help those who are in business keep their stuff in order, because this is the reason why I decided to bring the Do-It-Yourself Credit Hub back. So if you go to DIYcredithub.com, you can learn more. That program originally was for people to help them rebuild their credit, but I've now expanded on it. And so now it's the DIY credit/funding hub. Because what I've noticed is that a lot of people who watch my videos on YouTube or social media or what have you, they're not lending ready. You're not lending ready. And what is happening is that many people are falling prey to tricks, because you literally are trying to fit square pegs in round holes. You are the square peg. The round hole is what you need to have in place. And it goes back to why on the first wave of funding, a lot of people lost out. Those who did get in, I bet you if you looked across the board, and even for those with who want to say, oh, the multi-million-dollar corporations got the money, the Ruth Chris's and the what Potbelly or whatever these companies were. Yes, they are large enough to hire the right people to be on top of it. And so the small mom and pop, a lot of times, they, number one, probably can't afford to have a relationship with a particular, like I said, whether it's a financial advisor or somebody, or tax professional, their banker or what have you. And so they're left being a jack of all trades. So they're running the business, they're doing this, they're doing that. And then when it comes to real, they're the bookkeeper. And then when it comes to pivotal, life-changing situations like this, they're left holding a bag. And what I've noticed is that a lot of people who watch my videos on YouTube, You want access to funding, you want access to credit, you want all this access, but you don't have the things in place that you need to have in place. And I always ask people, would you lend to you? I find it very interesting when people will say, I just want business funded. You know, I don't want to do no PG. I don't want to do no personal guarantee. And then when you start asking them questions about, okay, well, how much revenue did your business bring in? Oh, nothing. And then if they say something, it'd be $1,000. Okay, so let me get this. And I know if those who watching me on this channel, they know I've been saying this for the longest. So your credit is so. Your business ain't bringing in no money, but you think somebody is going to lend you money solely to your business, and you don't want to do no personal guarantee. Now, outside of anything that I've said, I always go back to, would you lend to you? Personal credit is not too great. Business ain't bringing in no money. Or if it is, it's bringing less than 1,000. And you, for some reason, want a lending institution to lend you money solely on your business just because you was told to get the net 30 account, the vendor trade lines, and all the other creative stuff that they tell you to do, and maybe the $500 credit card from Cap One or what have you. Nothing wrong with that. You got to start somewhere. I'm a big proponent of Cap One. I think it's a great starter card for people. But you want somebody to lend you north of $25,000 or more. And I always say, would you lend to you? So right now, more than ever, I have been saying for a whole year what individuals need to have in order to get funding. That's why I put together Do-It-Yourself Credit and Funding Hub. If you think it's just about getting your credit right, it's not. It's not. It's a monthly program, and it's not just I'm going to stop the share. And it's not just to get your credit right. So if you are curious and want to know, it's more than that. Just going to show you a few things. So this is the website, the Do-It-Yourself Credit and Funding Hub. Online classes at your fingertips. Do not miss out on a major wealth transfer. So the reason why I say is not just credit, because it goes into the website has changed some. If you've seen it in the past, learn how to recession-proof your income, learn how to turn a national pandemic crisis into a financial opportunity. The reason why I say that, because these are some of the topics that we're going to talk about. Wealth building. We will talk about credit, and we're going to talk about income. Those are the main staples of what is going to be discussed. Every month, there'll be a different theme. So, because what I'm noticing is that some people are not in position, and it's not one or the other. So a lot of times people tell me, well, I have this, but then they don't have that. Well, I have that and I don't have this. Let me just say this. The fact that you have registered a business with the state of but I'm saying New Jersey because I'm here in New Jersey. In the state that you're in, you have the logo, you may have a social media presence. You're going to need, it's going to take more than that, it takes more than that in order to get funding. you know, and I can tell you right now, my lending process relies heavily on your personal credit. And the reason why I say that is because you can see right here now with the national pandemic going on, you have the Treasury who is providing loans to small businesses that's funneled down to the SBA. And one of the biggest gripes that a lot of business owners had was that, are they going to look at my personal credit? Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I've said this in the past, you know, it's nobody lending to nobody if your credit is down the tubes. They're just not doing it. Because it has to, if you can't manage the small things, how are you going to get big things? And outside of that, the SBA has always been known to look at people's personal credit. That's just their criteria. Anybody who will tell you that they have gotten any type of SBA lending, they will tell you how hard and difficult it is to get funding. The process is not easy. But outside of that, if you go through this PPP process, you'll understand what it's like to actually be able to get funding in the real world. Because this right here is a really a sneak peek on how lending is. And I would say the process is a little more easier now. But the thing is that if you understand the SBA, or I mean, the Treasury already says, if you have a Schedule C, you a sole proprietor, and you show a loss, meaning your Schedule C show a loss for 2019, you out of the box with funding. So I have said this to people before. If your business ain't bringing, who gonna lend to you? So now, even if you felt like, oh, that's just the lady on YouTube, she just talking, the SBA saying that. The SBA saying we ain't loaning to you. We ain't giving you no money if you ain't showing no profit. How somebody gonna loan somebody some money and they business ain't making no money? How you gonna pay them back? You just gonna pay them back on an IOU? And see, that's why I said, and that's why I did this video, the do's and don'ts, because don't get enticed. Don't have people have you to believe that there's tricks to this. There ain't no tricks, man. There's no tricks. Go to the document. I'm going to go back to the PPP program. Hopefully you can see my screen. There's no tricks. This is it. This is it. Question number 5, a borrower is required to apply to the SBA affiliation rules under section code 13 of the CRF. Next question is, I'm just going to do like things that most people may have questions about. The CARES Act excludes from the definition of payroll costs any employee compensation in excess of annual salary of $100,000. Does that exclusion apply to all employee benefits of monetary value? The answer is no, and they go into it. So if you are somebody that earn over 100,000, they go into how that calculation needs to be provided to the lender in order for you to get funding. So it's in excess of 100,000, you know, almost like a cap out. Do the PPP loans cover paid sick leave? Yes. My small business is a seasonal business whose activities increases from April to June. However, my small business was not fully ramped up on February 15th, 2020. Am I eligible? That's a perfect question, because it goes back to, remember when I said about the 12 months But this particular business is a seasonal business. And look at the answer. In evaluating a borrower's eligibility, a lender may consider whether a seasonal borrower was in operation February the 15th, 2020, or for an 8-week period between April 15th, 2019 and June 30th. So what that means is, although you may not have been in business in the early part of this year, they're going to look at, were you in business in 2019? I'm looking at, key questions. This is a very popular question right here in terms of, should payments that an eligible borrower made to an independent contractor, sole proprietor, be included in the calculation? No. It says that no, because you're only going by payroll. Because the independent contractor and the sole proprietor, even though if you was a business and you were paying them people, they have their way of being able to get their money. So you are not going to include their pay in it. I mean, what you paid them, because in your 941, your 941 never included them in the first place. So I'm kind of just like skimming over, looking at some main questions. So once again, this is all that I have. Like I said, these are some of the things that with the do-it-yourself credit hub that we talk about, because a lot of times people are just not in a position to get the funding outside of the PPP program, because don't believe the hype, doom and gloom, although it does exist. And even here, I'm in the Northeast, and we've gotten hammered, as they say, with COVID. Better days are coming. And so, I mean, now is the time to get yourself in financial order. I can't stress that enough. If you know in 2019 you were not in position to get the funding that you wanted, now is the time to get yourself in order, because this month's topic is setting your business up for economic success during a pandemic. Because like I said, some people aren't set up. Excuse me, the do-it-yourself credit/funding hub is that place that we're going to talk about, and that's what the class is geared for. So it's not just credit. So because what I'm seeing is a lot of people, if they're missing one, they're missing the other. And this is what the class is about. You go right here to the DIY Credit Hub, so you can learn more about it. And that's all. For those who do feel like that they are in place and in position for funding, you always are welcome to do a free 15-minute consultation at bizcredit.yourmoneymentor.com. But if you want to join a class, go to the DIYcredithub.com. So I will talk to you in the next video. Okay.